Okay. Um, I'm Alex Hilton here with Jim Knight, Education Minister, talking about the Labour Party's Let's Talk consultation on non-faith quotas where there's demand in faith schools. Right, Jim, what's behind this consultation?
We are proposing an amendment to the education bill so that where new faith schools are being created, they would normally allow up to 25% of different faiths or no faith to have admission into those schools. But in the end, it's going to be up to local authorities. If a new school is proposed that's 100% a faith school, if nobody objects, that's fine. If there's enough objection and the local authority doesn't agree with that objection, then it would be up to the Secretary of State to decide.
Okay, so do you have civil servants looking into the feasibility of this policy?
Yes, we wouldn't propose it as an amendment to legislation if we didn't think that it was feasible.
I was wondering if it was a Labour consultation in advance of that, or whether it's being done in parallel.
No, we decided, because of the level of concern that we share, but that is out there generally around community cohesion and the relationship between schools and education and community cohesion, that we needed to act pretty quickly. So we've had to press ahead with this proposal as far as new faith schools is concerned.
So what are the reasons parents might send their children to a faith school where they don't share that faith?
We see it very regularly up and down the country with Anglican schools, with some Catholic schools, where parents see a very strong ethos with schools and their pupils achieving better than other schools perhaps in the local area, where there is a strong feeling of safety, of discipline, of good behaviour that perhaps they don't see in other schools, and they're attracted by that, understandably, and want to get their children into those schools. And sometimes, we see this bizarre prospect of parents kind of pretending that they are of a particular faith in order to get into a school. And we don't think we should go ahead with that sort of nonsense. We should open up the prospect of more mixed faith education with these new faith schools. We're not proposing changing anything with existing faith schools, but with new faith schools, so that we can just address some of this community cohesion issue while still fulfilling parents' desire to exercise choice.
So it's about community cohesion, and what's acting against that is a desire for some parents. It's the ethos and attainment. Is the ethos, attainment, behaviour?
I mean, what's behind the whole of school policy is raising standards.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have schools in a community that are exclusively one faith, and they're great schools, and parents can't choose to send their children there because they are exclusively of one faith, then that can create some friction in the community.
Is there something parallel going on to try and instill the similar ethos and attainment levels in state schools?
Yes, the trust school proposals, which have been so controversial in the bill, are about offering permanent forms of external partnership with those external partners, forming charitable trusts that can appoint governors in the same way that church schools do at the moment, offering that external partnership to non-faith organisations. That's precisely what trusts offer. Church schools without the church.
In practicality, do you foresee a great demand for places at Islamic schools from non-Muslim parents, maybe excluding Zoroastrians or something?
We can see that at the moment with some schools that are largely Muslim. If they're good schools, parents still want to send their children to those schools, and I think it's important in respect of Muslim schools, in respect of Jewish schools, if we're to have, where we have Sikh schools, that we ensure that the community is comfortable with those schools, and that's the cohesion point that we're worried about.
All right. Finally, what would you say to those Labour members who would like to see the state education system entirely secular?
What I would say to them is that may sound attractive at first shout, but if you look at it for more than a moment, you would see how popular faith schools are with parents, and so the Labour Party has to think about whether or not it's a good policy politically, but also in practical terms, thanks to the settlement after the Second World War, vast majority of schools in this country are Church of England schools, with land and building owned by the church. And if we're to make them secular, we'd have to spend a shed load of public money buying those assets off the church. Now, is that the best use of public money in terms of raising educational attainment, which is really what we're after? Or should we come to an accommodation with the church, as we voluntarily have done with the Anglican Church, who were the first to come forward with this idea of 25%, and tackle the problem that way?
Is there anything you'd like to finish off, to round up and to make your point?
Well, I think this is a really important area of debate. The issue of community cohesion, of people, everybody, regardless of faith, feeling safe in their community, is something that we have to address so that everyone feels safe in their schools. Because it's only when children feel safe are they ready to learn.
Jim Knight, thanks very much.
Thank you.